When you're ready, Bill, let us know who it is. You're ready? All right, opening statement.
My opening statement?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day in January in Fort Worth. So start practice tomorrow. And, guys have been back for a little while, working out on their own. And then when they got back into school, we've been able to have a little bit of practice time with them. But, our championship segment starts tomorrow, which is going to be great. We got 3 inter-squad games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It'll pretty much stay that way the whole lead up to the season. We won't play any midweek games. We'll just play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So any TCU fans that want to come out and watch some baseball, more than likely every Friday it'll be at about 3 o'clock, first pitch, and then about 1 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. So come on out.
Talk about the team, the roster that you've got. Obviously, you got a really good look at folks in the fall, but just as you get back into things this January, what are you looking for?
People to kind of take charge of some roles. I think in the fall we had a pretty good idea of where guys are at, but a lot of crazy stuff happens between the end of November or the beginning of November and coming back in January. And so you've seen it a ton where, some guys didn't have a great fall and come back and win a spot leading up to the season and have a great year. So, the main thing is making sure our pitchers, get their pitch counts up, and so that we start off the first 4 days of the season, we have 4 games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So, we're going to see a lot of guys early on in the season because, you have 4 guys, you're going to see a ton of arms. We'll bring a ton of guys because we are playing 4 games in a row. So, but I'm looking forward to, guys winning spots and kind of solidify what we think we have. And then for them to kind of, compound on that and become, I want to have our lineup and our rotation set by the conference play, which is the 5th week of the year.
Obviously brought Coach Mo back this offseason. Just talk about his impact on the team so far, and how does that impact your role as head coach and the other responsibilities you've got?
Sure, yeah. having Mo back is huge. I think Brody Green was around for Coach Mo, and so everybody else is learning his system, and learning how he likes to coach and what he expects of his offenses, and but it's been awesome to have him back in terms of, can almost finish his sentences when he's on the field. I know exactly what he's going to say, and when you've been around somebody and coached on this, in the same dugout for 9 or 10 years together, it's nice to have that back. And so, what does it allow me to do? It allows me to, I feel, taking the pitching in terms of working with Dave Lawn, but then also, taking the pitch calling duties and doing that again this year and being a little bit more, spend a lot more time, with the pitchers has been really, really nice to be able to kind of get back to my roots of, what got me to become a head coach was being a pitching coach. And so getting back to that, I think, has been really fun.
And talk about Jake Silverman as well.
Yeah. Jake brings a ton of wealth of knowledge. He's coached pretty much everything. He's been a hitting coach. He's been a pitching coach. He's coached catchers. He's coached outfielders. I think the only thing maybe he hasn't coached is infielders. At his stops at UW and Nevada and Cal Poly Slow and UCLA and Fullerton. So, he brings a ton of value to the organization as well. So I'm really excited about our coaching staff and the cohesion and just we like to have a good time. We like to have a good time together, and I think that trickles down to the players and knowing that we're all, tackling this thing together.
Coach, Carson Bowen and Chase Bunson coming off of injuries. Can you tell us how they've been kind of ramping up as we get closer to the season? Yeah,
you always worry about a back surgery for a rotational sport, for a guy that's swinging a bat, with Chase. But, knock on wood, he's looked exceptionally well in terms of, live at bats, batting, practice, cage work. He looks better than he did his freshman year, physically and just him being healthy is the big thing. I think he got off to a great start, and then at the very end he was dealing with so many, that back injury. I think that slowed him down in a ton of different ways, and we didn't even know about it. So him being back, I think, has been great. And then Carson just seems to not like fall baseball. He just figures out a new injury each fall to not play fall baseball. But no, Carson's, fully back. No issues whatsoever. He just had his last checkup in terms of kind of the blood clot issues that he was having in the fall, and went back and saw one more last checkup, and everything's been great. So he's been doing well, healthy, blocking, throwing, hitting. So it's like it didn't happen. So great to have those two guys back, put it that way.
Coach, talk about the culture just around this team and maybe what you're expecting out of some of your veteran players to maybe help some of those younger guys. Obviously, I think a lot of people talk about those freshmen trying not to be freshmen once the season starts. Just talk about that culture. Yeah,
I mean, you have an older group that their freshman year went to a World Series that played, like you said, not like freshmen. They played, it was catcher, your shortstop, your Friday night starter, and your closer. And then that same group, we had a down year last year, and they experienced what it's like to not even make a regional. And so I think having them back, to be able to have them have a little bit more sense of urgency from day one, I think you've really noticed it. I've noticed it a ton. Our freshmen have noticed it a ton. This group has settled in as quickly as any other freshman group, and I think that is because of those older players. Knowing what they want and then being able to talk to the younger group about what the expectation is and how we do things around here. And that can come from a coach, but it's way better coming from, a peer, because they're going to be with each other away from the field. We're not with them, so they do a great job of holding each other accountable and making sure that we have an understanding of what we're trying to do day in and day out. And then it comes down to, like you said, getting them comfortable, and we're going to do that right away. We're going to play a ton of those young guys the first day, the first weekend, and we'll learn quite a bit about ourselves. And like I said, we hope to feel really good going into conference play.
Can you talk about the transfer class you guys brought in and how they've stood out to you so far?
Yeah, sure. The transfer, nowadays, you're bringing guys in from different programs, so you're trying to figure out, what they do and don't know and how they were treated at the other program, whether they were held accountable for going to class or the way, they showed up to practice or was it like our program? Was it not like our program? And so, these guys and most every one of our transfers in this portal era has done a phenomenal job of seamlessly transitioning into our program. And I think that speaks to our culture and our current players, because those guys have let them know exactly what we do around here. And these transfers have done the same thing. So I'm excited for them to, because the transfer portal gets a bad rap sometimes. And, for us, we use it definitely as a supplement to our program, because you can't build a roster and a culture in this day and age if you just go in the portal every year. You have to have guys around for 3 and 4 years that know and breathe what you want to continue to do year in and year out. And so these transfer guys, it's kind of a plug and play. But what we tried to do this year is get guys that just finished their freshman year, so they'll be around for 2 years. So it's kind of almost like we have big freshman class, and then you add on these transfers who are basically sophomores. It's a big group. But it comes down to those older guys doing a great job with them. So,
two of those older guys, Ben Abel, Anthony Silva, some pretty high expectations for them, I think, this season. Just what are your expectations specifically for those two?
Yeah, just to be themselves. Be themselves. I think their first year, I think most freshmen are just wanting to play and help the team out. And then in year 2, it becomes, well, now I got to do a little bit more. They don't have to do anything more. I think what they need to do is have fun playing the game and be themselves. And, that's all I want to see from them. Enjoy it, have fun, and be themselves. And if they do that, we'll be just fine.
Can you talk a little bit about the conference and the scheduling that you guys have and how different it is going to be from this year and past years with different schools being added?
Yeah, we got trips to, Tucson, we got trips to Salt Lake City, to Orlando. Those are trips we haven't made before, with Utah, Arizona, and Central Florida, and the other schools that are in our conference. It's different. You're used to, the conference the way it's been for a long time. And now, with so many teams entering it, it'll be fun to go to different places and, great cities. And I think our conference is wide open. I think there's a lot of talented teams. And I think there's no team that you look at on the schedule and it's like, man, this is going to be an easy weekend. And I think that just talks about the depth in which our conference is going to be. I hope we get 7 or 8 of our teams into the postseason. I think that's what we should look to every single year, is to get 8 teams into the postseason, and because I think that's what kind of baseball conference the Big 12 is. And so with our non-conference, we didn't do ourselves any favors either. San Diego's was pretty close to being a super regional team last year. They had a really tough regional in Santa Barbara, but they were pretty close to getting out of that and going to a super regional. So that's going to be a really good start to the season, followed by Globe Life with Michigan and Arkansas and Kansas State. And then the third weekend is Southern Miss, who is, I think I saw something that 11.7 Sports put out over the last 4 college baseball seasons or 3 college baseball seasons. Southern Miss ranks 12th nationally in terms of average RPI finish. We're right behind them at 14, but that tells you what Southern Miss is. And right behind us is DBU at 15. And I'd equate Southern Miss to DBU. Mid-major program that's not in one of the Power 4 conferences that you'll see in Omaha real soon. And that's the same way I think about DBU. And then Fresno State, Coach Mo's alma mater, coming to town the 4th week. So good schedule. Gonna be a fun schedule. Gonna be a tough schedule, but that's the way we want it.
You said the tough non-conference schedule. How important is that for getting guys ready for the season?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to do well. You got to win games, but you also got to see what you got. So it's we don't really you don't have a cupcake where you can kind of just throw whoever you want out there and just you're going to win. We got to show up ready to play and ready to win, and so but that's part of the non-conference. Is finding that out and figuring out what your best 9 is and what your best 4 starting pitchers are and whose roles and what position in the bullpen. And so we're going to do that against great competition. So it'll be fun to figure out.
Just talk a little bit about the starting rotation. You kind of mentioned it. Any guys that have particularly impressed you in the fall, and maybe if we might see a guy like Ben Abelt move from the bullpen?
Yeah, definitely Ben's. We're going to stretch him out. He's definitely going to start. I'm not sure what our rotation in terms of who's going when, but we feel great about 7-8 guys in terms of stretching those guys out to be a starting pitcher. A couple of the guys, Trevor Baumler, a freshman from Iowa, had a really good fall, and 4-pitch mix guy that I think has a really good chance of being a starting pitcher for us. And really, I mean, that freshman class has been impressive on the mound, which is exciting for the next 3 years. But yeah, Ben Abelts and Braden Sloans and Cole Kleckers, Tommy Leapor, Brassfield, Franco. I mean, the list goes on in terms of who we think can do it. Now it's a matter of who takes charge and shows that, hey, I want to be one of the guys.
This time last year, I asked you about the redshirt rule and the disparity between baseball and football. Now that rule is going to change for next season. What does that open up for you as a coach when it comes to allowing players to play early and then still maintain a redshirt?
I think to be honest with you, nobody really sticks around for 4 years anyway in college baseball. So the redshirt rule, but what it does is it preserves the ability for kids to, if they don't play or if they play a little bit and get a taste of it and maybe they weren't ready, it allows them on the back end for the draft to have more flexibility to be able to have more leverage. So if a kid plays a little bit at the beginning and man, he's not quite ready yet, and we don't burn his year, now all of a sudden when he gets to his redshirt sophomore year, he's still got quite a few 2 years of leverage for Major League Baseball to be able to come back to college baseball. So I think it benefits the player first and foremost, which it should, and then for us it gives us a chance to, you always feel bad where it's like, man, I want to give this guy a chance, but I mean, if we give him 5, 10, 15 at bats, we burn a year for the kid. So we feel terrible on our end, and you always ask a kid, hey, do you want to play? You would have to burn your what is a kid not? No, I don't want to. Of course the kid's going to say yes. And sometimes you don't ask it because you don't want to, the answer, but you can't burn his year because it's too late in the year, and that many at bats or that many innings isn't worth it for the kids. So I'm glad they're going to do something about it.
You guys are so used to winning around here and built a program that plays at the highest level. And only one team can win it all.
Yeah.
But what constitutes a great season here at TCU?
I think the big thing for our guys is to reach our potential in what we can do. like you said, it's super hard to win a national championship in any sport. And I don't look at it as if you don't win it, it's not a successful season. I mean, there's success can be defined in a lot of different ways, and sometimes it's not even a win or a loss. And watching, I mean, we have a couple guys that have been in this program for 3 or 4 years that are completely different than when they entered it. And when they leave it, that's a success in my mind, that we've helped basically take on the responsibility of what mom and dad have done for the kid in terms of raising him for 18 years, and then us taking over for a little bit while he's here, and watching guys graduate and watching guys enter professional baseball ready to hit the ground running as opposed to limping into it. So I think a successful season for TCU is trying to reach our potential. And what potential is that? Not sure. Well, that's what the season will tell us.
Coach, talk about the dynamic between Jacob and Anthony. What has it been like for you getting to coach a pair of brothers like that? And then also, what do you see from them in terms of that, some competition between them two and trying to make each other better? Yeah, and we have another set of brothers, Jax and Nolan Traeger. So I think that's probably you got to look that up, Brandy, how many times 2 sets of brothers are on the same team. But it's cool because you can see, Anthony's been phenomenal with all of our guys, but you can see that, those two have been close their entire life and been on the baseball field together a lot of it. And it's fun to watch those 2 guys encourage one another. I think Nolan and Jax, do the same. But I think it is fun to have 2 freshman brothers, and then you have a senior, 2 older guys, a junior and a senior in terms of the older brothers. It's unique and it's fun. But really, once they get out on the field, you kind of forget about it. And then all of a sudden, you'll hear one either joke around with the other one, or like when Jax punched out Nolan his first time facing him in a TCU uniform, everybody went crazy, and Jax kind of had a little smirk on his way off the mound when he punched his brother out. So pretty fun dynamics for sure.
With the new AD and his history with baseball, kind of conversations you've had with him?
Yeah, we've talked. I sent him a text when I had heard when he first got the job, and then we talked on the phone prior to his press conference, and then spoke after his press conference. He'll be stopping by. I know he gets into town, I think, starting the next day or so. So he's going to be coming over to baseball and hanging out and seeing the facilities and hanging out at the baseball field, which he's probably very comfortable doing. He kind of joked when he gets stressed as an AD, he finds himself coming over to the baseball field, whether it was at Army and his other stops. He would always find himself at the baseball field when he gets stressed, because that's kind of the way he grew up, being on a baseball field. So it's great. I think he's going to be great, not just for baseball. I think he's going to be great for TCU in terms of his background and what he's done and where he's come from, and just the human being is. That's the thing that I noticed right away was the type of person, character, morals, values, and then obviously the work ethic. You don't get to the big leagues by luck. You get there by hard work and determination, and that's what he did. And that usually, like it has with him, carries over into the professional world.
Talking about that freshman class again, looking at a guy like Noah Franco, usually the most common thing in this program to have 2-way guys, obviously Peyton Tolley being the most recent. How does your mindset as a coach change with a guy that's expected to play both ways? Is it an equal split, or are you focusing on one more than the other? How does that work? No, the player usually ends up telling you. Baumler is the same thing. He's he'll outfielder and pitcher. A lot of times one usually is ahead of the other one, but these 2 guys are talented at both. I think Noah was our MVP of the Purple White World Series in the fall. He really swung the bat well at the end of the fall. Didn't throw the ball very well in the fall, and has come back and has made a huge jump on the mound. So feel good about him helping us out in any which way. And Trevor's had a great fall on both sides of the ball. So, we're going to have to manage that in terms of, when we get those guys opportunities, and it also depends what the role is on the mound first. If it's a reliever, is it a starter? It's a little bit easier then to figure out what you want to do with them offensively.
Think about going to the starter role. What does the back end of the bullpen look like?
You got any eligibility left, Chuck?
Yeah, but no arm.
I don't. Again, there's a lot of pieces down there that. First, you got to figure out what the rotation's going to be, because once you do that, I think then everything else kind of slides in there. But when you have a 2-time All-American leaving the closer role, if you look back at the history of TCU, there's always a guy at the back where you're excited about bringing in. We'll have that this year. We just don't know who it is yet. There's a lot of versatility with, Sloan can do it. Louis Rodriguez can do it. Tommy Leapor can do it if he doesn't win a rotation spot. I mean, there's a ton of options, but I think you got to first shake down the rotation.
Can you speak to Tommy a little bit and just the progress he made this fall? Saw the velo on his fastball jumped pretty significantly. Just talk about that for a second.
Yeah, he's, I think his big thing has been working on his breaking ball. His changeup has become elite. And I think working with his fastball, he does a good job of the fastball, the changeup, and now the breaking ball is getting a lot better. So I think his main thing is just the confidence factor of doing it at a Power 4 school. And I think it comes down to high school kids always question, and then I think sometimes with a transfer, is this Big 12 better than it's baseball? And you're going to face the same competition in terms of playing different conferences. I mean, there might be a little step up, but it's still baseball. You still execute pitches, and you'll take care of it. So, but he's done a really good job. I'm excited to see, again, what he's going to be able to bring for our program.
Was it intentional to give him the same number as the other Wichita State transfer?
Well, I think he was 49 at Wichita State too. So I think that was more his design. But he did tell me that Peyton had a definite influence on him, coming here in terms of watching what he did at Wichita and then watching what he did his 1 year here. He did say that had something to do with it. So, they've obviously done a really good job over at that school, and hopefully Tommy can have the same kind of career that Peyton did on the mound.